Hello and welcome to Steve's Vintage Model Builds, where today we're actually going to build a model. So I apologize for the lighting. Normally I do it a little differently, but it has to be this way so I can see to work. Hope everybody can appreciate that. Okay, and hopefully people don't find it to be too distracting. Alright, so today we're going to build this, and it's the Atlantis 1/120 scale Boeing B-29 Superfortress. Did a review on this recently. It's a pretty simple, straightforward kit. I think there's only 44 pieces. Has a beautiful stand, which is pretty mandatory since there is no option to have landing gear down. So not an expensive kit. I think it was $34, something like that. And you know, I wanted a shelf sitter. I didn't want anything really spectacular or whatever. I've got a 172 Lancaster from Revell and a 148 Warthog, and so they'll be taking up plenty of space on the shelf, and there's only so much room to hang things from the ceiling. So anyways, yeah, it's not too big, and yeah, just kind of a little today's Friday, and it's the Friday of Victoria Day weekend in Canada, the unofficial start to summer in Canada. So it's a long weekend, and everybody pretty much gets out of town and goes wherever they go on long weekends, so it'll be nice and quiet. Okay, it's been cool and breezy. We had a bit of rain last night, which the garden really appreciated. Pretty much everything's in now, just a bit of corn to seed, maybe a couple of other things. And so, yeah, off we go. Everything's looking good there. So, enough of that. This is going to be more or less real time. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. I don't know how to fast forward things in the YouTube video. Maybe that's a premium function. I don't know. Or maybe you need an editor. I do have OBS Studio, but I don't really know how to use it. And I've devoted my time to other things. So, in any case, so yeah, let's get started. I've got instructions, basically 3 steps plus the stand. So, what we're going to start with here, though, is going to give a quick paint to the interior where you can see it. I'm going to use Tamiya XF71 Cockpit Green. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Which is virtually the same color as the XF21 Sky. Okay, so we give that a good shake. Not going to bother to prime this or anything. And we're just going to paint in here where you're going to be able to see it. We're not going to paint on the platform. And so yeah, when I was doing the research, you know, what color to paint it, there was everything from dark green to medium green, even, you know, flat aluminum. So, anyways, I went with the cockpit green because I think that'll highlight the interior best rather than a flat black or something like that. Okay, so that doesn't need to be perfect, but we do our best. Okay, there we go. That'll do. Set that aside to dry. And this brush goes into the Tamiya thinner. Cap goes back on. So what I did was, you know, in order to speed things up, I mean, who wants to watch somebody trimming flash and sprue posts and stuff like that? So anyways, I took off these smaller parts. Some people like to, you know, well, anyways, there's no numbers on the, well, maybe there are some numbers on the parts, but in any case, so I took all these off and, you know, did the mostly trimming on them. There we go. That'll make things go together a little more quickly. And yeah, putting them in a little dish like this or whatever, the lid from an old jar, whatever. Helps to ensure that you don't lose them, or you know, protects them from the carpet monster. Okay, and so we were just a little premature with that. Got some police activity going on. Long weekend. Okay, so yeah, so we'll need this again. And this will be for the cockpit floor. I use this putty, you know, it's like silly putty or whatever, play putty. You get it at the discount store. Handy for all sorts of things that you don't necessarily want to use your tacky stuff on. Okay, and the lower part here is going to be cockpit green. Sorry, I'll try and keep it turned, kind of new at doing this. There we go. Okay, that goes in there. They're going somewhere in a hurry. Okay, alright, so that gets set aside. Oh, and these pallets too, they come from the discount store. They're just great. pack of 4 or 5 for, I don't know, $3 or something. Whatever it is. Anyway, so they're great. And I haven't done it with this one, obviously. But what you can do is you can, you know, line it with foil. And that keeps it nice and clean. And I'm usually pretty good about that and wiping them out. But, you know, I got lazy with this one here. Okay, so we've got that and we set that aside. Now, it's time for these delightful little figures. And we're going to need 3 colors of paint. We're going to need flesh. I'm going to use the Vallejo medium flesh tone. Excuse me. And we've got olive drab, Tamiya XF72, or sorry, XF62, and a trusty old XF1 flat black for the boots. Okay, and for this we're gonna need a fine brush like this one, maybe even finer, but we'll see, and a toothpick. Okay, and so we've got 3 figures here, and oh, that's the other thing. We're going to start with the olive drab. When trying to figure out the provenance or the history of this kit, it's a little confusing. But I think I figured it out. And originally, it was a Revell kit, it looks like. Now the two, you know, Atlantis, I think it was, you know, I think it was 1954 or something. But I looked at some of the box arts on the various different ones, and virtually the same as the Revell box art. Like this one. This is off a Revell kit. The Revell kit, though, had the logo over here, and you could see all of the propellers. So Atlantis put it across the top, and Revell put it here. Given the choice, I'd rather lose a bit of propeller than a whole whack of tail. But Revell does some funny things on the SR71, the old monogram kit. They plunked the logo on the box, and they covered half the artist's name, which I thought was a pretty low class move. You know, you can put your logo anywhere or shift it a couple inches. You know, you don't want to take away from the man's artwork. But anyways, that's just me. Okay, and so anyways, yeah, so I was going back. Anyways, the Revell kit goes back to 1945. And so that would certainly put it in the very oldest of the vintage kits. So I've trimmed these down. I'm not going to do a whole heck of a lot. I mean, they're going to get covered up anyways, mostly. So we're just gonna paint them up a little bit here, just for fun. And yeah, these guys are pretty tiny. I've got the 144 Saturn V rocket. Again, that's a Revell kit. And it has some figures, so it'll be interesting painting those. And oh, that's the other thing. Uh, the old Revell kit says, I've seen one 133 and one 135. This kit is one 120, which is and it's accurate. I did the math. I figured it out. How about that? Steve did math and figured it out. Okay. Oh, yeah, and I got these with the alligator clips. There's a whole pegboard full of them, and they're handy as all get out. Okay, and then we've got the bombardier here, and we'll detail up his bomb sight. When I first came back to the hobby last year, I was I was very intimidated by figures, and but I ordered a set of 172. What do you call it? 172 figures that I had intended to use with the Airfix Vintage Classic World War I Mark I tank. And so anyway, so yeah, and so I painted them up. I mean, kind of silly to start with 172, but that's the way it was. Anyways, and they turned out okay. So there you go. Oops. Now, I'm not saying I'm any good at them. I've actually, the 172s, I think they turned out good. And some of my modeling friends had sincere comments about them. So yeah, there we go. But in any case, I might not be that great at them, but I'm not intimidated anymore. So, and they're kind of fun. So, okay, so we got those three guys. And we're going to use the same brush here. Likewise, these brushes, I don't know, they're like $10. I got a whole whack of them. There are 3 sizes, and I think 6 in each size. So, yeah, they're nice little brushes. Okay, and so now on to, I'm going to do flat black. And flat black is for the boots. And know, we're hardly going to be able to see these guys inside. So like I say, this is literally just for fun and a bit of practice. And there we go. Back in there to dry a bit. Bombardier. Boots. There you go. And we're going to go back to here. And we're going to paint this black, and then we're going to dot it with silver dots. There's the cockpit column. Okay, there we go. And that goes into the trusty Tamiya paint thinner. That'll be time for the flesh. Now we're using the Vallejo here, and to clean your brushes or your airbrush or whatever, you can't use anything that's alcohol based for these paints. They just turn into an absolute horrible gummy mess. The paint clots up, and yeah, it's a mess. So, anyways, water. Water's the best thing. Just regular old water. Okay. And obviously our tiny faces won't need much, so I've actually probably put too much in here. And we don't need to worry too much about obscuring their facial expressions. They do have, you know, for the size of these figures, they've done remarkably well. There we go. And Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, set that to dry. And silver. Silver. It is. So I'm just going to dip this in and then put a few dots on the control column. There we go. All right. Okay, so that gets set aside. And while we wait for these things to dry, so we can do further assembly here. There we go. That and that. And this and this. Okay, we do our dry fit. That looks nice. There's a notch there. So you can't get it the wrong one or the wrong way. And today I'm going to use the Tamiya regular strength cement. It's a fair bit thicker, obviously, than the Tamiya thin. And with this one, it's best to leave it to dry a little bit before you fit your parts in. Whereas the thin cement, it dries up so quickly. And as always, we'll just, hold it for a moment or two. Let it get settled in there. Make sure it's all lined up. The rivet detail on this is nice. Yeah. This one. Excuse me. Oh, and I had a poster comment that under the Revell banner, I think, this was part of their quote-unquote Pacific Raiders line, which also included the B-29 and the I can't remember, the Mitchell and the anyways, there were 3 of them. And it's fitting together nicely. Just gonna make sure everything's lined up. Set that aside to dry. Now we'll move on to the wing assembly. And for that, we're going to need clamps. Clamps, clothespins, whatever. Okay, and I'm going to do this backwards, and I'm going to explain why. Well, kind of backwards. I'm going to put the wings together. And I think these are probably designed to overlap, and there we go. Okay, so there we go. And I did a bit of trimming on these, but I don't do too much because I like to wait till it's all assembled, and then we can see what needs to be. And, you know, they can be trimmed off evenly. One thing I'm liking is these large contact surfaces. For the cement. Okay, yeah, we like to hear the click sound. The click sound, not the snap sound, the click sound. Okay, wing number 1, set that aside. But don't get me wrong, this stuff sets up pretty quickly. But also gives you the opportunity to, adjust stuff after it's, put in place. So, to be honest with you, my favorite, sorry, Miss Tamia, my favorite is, Mr. Hobby, Mr. Cement. And it's a little thinner than this, but not as thin as the Tamiya thin. And for me, that's a great all-purpose one. The other one I liked was the Revell Contacta. I first saw it on Matt's Model Minutes, and this one's empty, but here it is. You've probably seen this before, and it has a dispensing wand. There's a few things about it. It takes some practice to get to work with the dispensing wand. Really, all it does, it just takes a little squeeze, and then it kind of just bleeds out from there. But the dispensing wand makes it easy to spread down the seam. Some of the negatives are the little dispensing wand tube tends to clog sometimes. I found it, you can clear it easily with just the end of a hobby knife. Just stick it in the hole there. And the other thing is, you can turn it upside down like this when it's being stored, and so that little bit in the end isn't exposed to overexposed to air at the end. So, but as I say, it works great. There we go. Okay, so do that. Take that for a couple minutes. Now, what are we in here? We're about 40 minutes in, including the intro. So, we've got the wing tips to put on. Why the wing tips were separate, I don't know, but we'll put those on after we're done with the clamping. And we've got propellers. For propellers, we're going to need the XF3 flat yellow from Tamiya, and the XF7 flat red. And flat black. Things going on there. That. One, two, three, four. actually. Yeah, here's the pegboard thing. Won't need the cement for the moment. There we go. And these are very sturdy metal that does not bend easily. Okay, I'm going to pause while I just trim this up. Alright, so I'm back after a sip of tea and trimming up some of these propellers. And, you know, I thought it was kind of, you know, during the break, I thought, gee, this is, you know, kind of ironic we're using these to assemble an aircraft or an airplane. Airplane, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, haha. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll get it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. So, anyways, okay, put these, put that away. Alright, so we are going to start again with our little teeny brush. We're going to start with the red. Well, I'm going to move this out of the way for just a moment. I want to show you something. And I should have caught this in the review, but I didn't. But I'm going to do it now. So on the bottom of the box here, we have this beautiful photograph of, you know, a beautifully completed model. And very nice of them, very classy of them, to indicate here, model built and painted by Bill Engar. So, yeah, that's classy of them to do that, as opposed to what I was talking about before with the box art. Anyways, okay. Alright, so here we go. Of course, this doesn't take long. Okay, goes to the back. Oh, and I can't remember what this cost me. It wasn't expensive though. Go 1, 2, halfway there. 3, and here we go into the home stretch. There we go. Now I didn't bother to prime this, and so when you're painting unprimed, you want to kind of glop it on pretty good, otherwise you got lots of brush strokes, which usually is not what you want. Okay, so red goes back. Okay. There. I thought I might leave that bare, but no, I'm going to paint it. Okay. A little slip there, but can clean that up after. Back in just a moment. Okay, there we go. And so, oh, a bit of a tip here. Speaking, pardon the pun, the tips of these propellers are going to be yellow. And so, you might think, well, what, you know, why bother to paint all the way to the end? Well, because when I paint all the way to the end, it's a lot easier for me to take a hobby knife and cut a very straight line and scrape that off so that I can paint over with yellow without having to use a mask. I've used masks before, but you know, on a tiny little thing like this, I'm not gonna. Yeah. So, anyways, so that's just a little tip there for anybody who's interested. Okay. Okay, so you've already seen me do this twice now, so I'm going to pause the video and come back when we're done. Alright, so we've got our airplane propellers all painted up, and they're drying. And now the wings. Alright, so on to the wings. And we seem to have got good bonding there. Set these aside for now. I mean, you could probably do this yourself easily enough, but you know, for the 12 bucks or whatever it cost, probably not. Okay, and so yeah, here's what I mean. This hasn't quite lined up, so we're gonna have to do something about that. We're lined up good on the front here, but that's what I meant when I said, you know, wait to do the trimming. Plus, you can also scrape back any of the excess glue that's oozed out, and so, but yeah, see, this one's fine, but this one's, I don't know if you can see it with my camera. Anyways, it doesn't quite line up there. So we'll make sure, take a look at it here. Yeah, that looks like excess that can be trimmed right off. So we'll do that. And the other thing here, okay, see these highly detailed engine cowls. We'll do a bit of painting and stuff on those as well, but that'll come at the very end. For now, what I'm going to do is test fit and trim these, because you'll see here, where is it, this one? This one's put, I already trimmed a bit of this one, but yeah, there's nasty flash going on there. So I want to make sure that I get this on, and because, you know, major things might need to be done to make it fit, make it line up properly. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got gun turrets here. I've trimmed these up mostly. This one has quite a bit of flash on it. There we go. Set that aside. Excuse me. So we'll get these trimmed up, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so we got those all trimmed up, and we'll get things just test fitted here, dry fitted. There we go. So, yeah, and so here we can see we need a little bit of sanding here and there. So, we'll do that. Now I'm going to dry fit these on when I paint. And, you know, that way the paint will be uniform. So those can go back in there for now. Now that's completed. And yeah, on the subject of engines, it was the B-29. So, well, I mentioned in the unboxing and review, fire control was by an analog computer. One of the most famous analog computers of the Second World War, at least on the Allied side, was the Norden bomb sight. Many people will have heard of that. And basically, you know, obviously it was before digital, that's why it's called analog. And it was mechanical or electrical connections. Probably the best example of an analog computer is a wind-up watch, a pocket watch or whatever. You know, the analog computer makes it run so that the minutes, seconds, and hours are all coordinated. So, anyways, yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. And, you know, people might be surprised to know that, you know, when digital computers first came along, they didn't have very much capacity, especially for really big jobs. And so analog computers were used well into the 1980s. And two of the simplest forms of analog computers, young people may think if there's any watching or any who watch, might be thinking I'm speaking in a foreign language, but a manual analog computer is a slide rule. Likewise, an abacus or abacus. Although an abacus is more of a calculator, although I suppose you could argue that a slide rule is a calculator, just more complex calculations. Anyways, yeah, my dad had one and he taught me how to use it. I wouldn't know what to do with one now, but it was handy when I was in school. Impress the friends. Okay, so yeah, so we've got that and that. And so now we're back to the fuselage. And our rear stabilizers have lined up well. Okay, now how is that going to work? Which one goes over which?